Alrighty, folks, it is 10:30 here on the East Coast. Welcome to Twitchline. It is Wednesday. We are going to be talking about Reddit topics on this wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. As always, joining me as my co-host, this is Hodo. Joining me as my co-host is my best friend and co-caster. It is going to be Acorn. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Very busy day, lots of running around, but it was a good day to do it. So, enjoying this pocket of time between too hot and too cold here in Northern Virginia. So, happy. How about yourself?
I am actually doing good. I think it's just the weather is so perfect in the mornings that I've been coming in late to work because I've been taking like short little walks around the neighborhood and just enjoying the nice brisk weather in the mornings before it gets like too warm in the afternoon. And then I really enjoy the evening. So I'm liking the weather the way it is now, but I know it's not going to last.
Right. Actually, if you had looked out your window and up the block where the light is about an hour ago, my wife and I were walking right by there because we take evening walks now down to CVS.
Well,
CVS and home.
CVS. What's at CVS that requires an evening walk?
Every night there's something. Every night there's something there that we can get or need or don't need. And if it comes down to it, and I feel like I've done too much exercise and walking there, I can always grab a nice cold Coca-Cola to destroy any gains I might have made from exercise.
Reminder, folks, Coca-Cola, one bottle, 20-ounce bottle, can have upwards of 220 calories, if I remember right, if I'm reading my Coca-Cola bottle right. So be careful on that, because you will destroy your exercise routine. But welcome, everyone, to Twitchline, to this wonderful Wednesday evening. Just as a reminder to everyone, you can contact us here at Twitchline to our email address, twitchlinelove@gmail.com. You can also tweet us here at Twitchline. So you can just send us little articles, things that you want us to talk about, anything that you want us to feature here on the show, we will read and we will mention it here on the show. As well as you can join us on YouTube if you are not on Twitch. We are streaming live onto YouTube also, and that is also where our archive of old shows are. So you can go to YouTube, search Twitchline Love Relationship Advice. You'll find our channel, hit the subscribe button, you'll see when we go live, and you can check out all of our old shows, our Sunday focus segments, our Thursday, our freeform Thursdays where we talk about anything. All of our older shows there are archived there on YouTube. And if you want to take us on the go, you can just go visit our SoundCloud channel. Just hit Twitchline in SoundCloud and you'll see our discussions, and you can take us on the go on your iPhone, iPad, mobile phone, and laptops. You can just take us on the go and listen to us wherever you are. So we're going to switch over to the main scene here. You see my new little setup. I'm actually not going to be on my headset today. I'm going to actually be on my boom mic and going to be talking on the mic, so I might sound a little different here. It might be a little louder, a little softer, just trying to find that sort of sweet spot here in the advice. So just trying to do this without any audio processing, and hopefully I sound good. And Mr. Acorn there has also got a new audio setup that was supplied to him, and he's sounding a lot better than that tinny headset mic that I gave him before.
Yeah, man, this is good. It's nice. It's also nice just not having to have something on my head. And although I'm not quite used to this large microphone sticking up at me, it's kind of weird. But, before long, I'll be ignoring it and just going on my way. Good times, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's just a little different. So we're playing with our little audio settings here. So everyone, hope you are patient with us. But we're just going to go ahead and jump on into the first topic here. And you'll see what we have up there. And it says, naked, no sex. It is an interesting topic. I was talking to Mr. Acorn here this afternoon, and he said he had some surprising topics for me today that I could jump into and get really into. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this one, as this one is from the Dating Over 30 subreddit. And we are going to go to that now. So let me just make sure I've got my scenes up here. There it is. I'm going to transition slowly in there so you can read along with us. This is from, it's Hedonist, spelled H3D0N1ST. Women who get totally naked and make out during the first couple of dates, but don't want to have sex. What's up with that? Okay, what is up with that? So let's read the post here, shall we? So I've been noticing I'll often end up with a girl totally naked in my bed on the first, second, or third date. But she doesn't want to have sex. Oral, hands, etc. all seem fine, but for penetration, she wants to wait for the next date. Often the girl will spend the night and she'll consider the next morning to be the next date. So women who do or have done that, what's going on here? Is it a test to see if I'm going to respect no? Or respect no? Or like, do you not want me to think you're a slut for giving it up so fast? Or is it like societal pressure type thing? Or something else? Just curious. And Hedonist here is posing an interesting question. This is a little bit odd. Personal experience would dictate that girls have never just gotten naked in my bed for after a first, second, or third date for no reason other than otherwise. But I don't know exactly how to chalk this up because this is a little unusual when it comes to this situation. The thing about it is that, and I know that Tim is going to probably address this, but there were the rashes of, one night stands, people being very okay with casual sex in the 70s, where people would be like completely all okay with doing it. And then we grew up in sort of a more conservative late 80s, early 90s, where then people were starting to be taught, to sort of stay home and not actually give it away so easily to both boys and women and men. There was this huge push into saving it for marriage, blah, blah, blah. And then I think what ended up happening is just people got confused. So you have this, entire generation in the 2000s that, some of them think it's okay. Some of them think it's not okay, and they want to go slower, and they want to save their virginity. I think what's ended up happening now is that people are just then put into a situation where it's like, I want to have fun. I think it's completely fine to be promiscuous in sort of that way, but I don't want to have actual sex, oral, touching, mutual masturbation. All that stuff is completely okay, but we'll save the actual stuff for later. Yeah, I mean, that happens. Tim, this is an interesting situation with regards to it, but not all that uncommon based on where society has been sort of taught that, what is it, the saving yourself till marriage has been a big push, especially in the conservative evangelical community and especially in the religious community.
Very true, man.
Mm-hmm.
We've come from years ago where it was basically not unheard of, but it was a really bad idea to have sex before marriage, because if you're caught out, it could mean that you are kicked out of your community. It could mean that you are paraded around in town and tortured and killed. I mean, there are all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So, but we'll make it soft and we'll say no sex before marriage. To today, where, a lot of young people today are like, why bother even get married? What purpose does it serve? So, there's been quite a move, a shift. And, in the past, society demonized sex out of wedlock because it was very damaging to get pregnant. And women couldn't support themselves on their own because of society and how the rules work. And having a child outside of marriage meant that you have almost no chance of remarrying or getting married after that. And also, men weren't really interested in raising what might be someone else's genetic offspring. So then they made some pretty horrifying laws to control women. And since men couldn't possibly be asked to stop putting their penis in things, it fell upon women to be shamed into keeping their lives together. So you've got all of this history of blame, shaming, control, and with women's sexual liberation in the 60s and 70s, part of the 70s, it's been kind of like an ebb and flow where it's become more open, and then that's caused people to push back and tighten down. And, no wonder people are very confused these days. But you fast forward to today, we have contraception, we have sex education, we're working on equality. If you ignore what's going on in the news, still women carry the shame and guilt that has been forced on them all these years throughout history. And even if they don't personally subscribe to those traditional ways of thinking, society is not going to let them get off so easily, right? Society hasn't moved as much as we would hope it would have over this time. And also religion, as you said, religion is pretty strong and has a very strong grip in most of America. And a lot of it's similar in the way that they strongly discourage sex before marriage, even to the point to say that you will burn in hell if you do it. So a lot of guilt there too. So really what we get at is today's modern woman trying to make her way in society and getting bombarded with mixed messages. And it's really no surprise that these cultural remnants have found their way into the bedroom. And even though it's like something as modern and today as the hookups that are coming from Tinder, it still affects that. So we look at what this guy's dealing with here, wondering why he is getting certain messages from women that he brings home that are more than willing to get naked and do literally everything else except for penis and vagina sex. But like holding and stopping there, I can understand he's confused. And on the other side of that, there's the women who are grappling with the idea that they have to hold something back or maintain something so that they can still be valued, which is really offensive. So I guess today, for a woman, the only way that she can be considered good is to not have sex before marriage or not have it too quickly. Like that seems to be the other element here. So it's not that maybe you won't have it, but that if you have it too early, you lose something. You lose the guy's respect. You lose your value. You lose your self-respect almost. Even though it's not true, that's kind of what's going on in people's heads, and that's what you're kind of told by society. But it is very strange to try to put all of these things in your head at the same time because they don't belong together, right? I mean, just think about the average 20-something-year-old that's going out and having sex, and she's thinking to herself, I don't want to be seen as loose, so I won't have sex on the first date, or maybe the second date, or maybe the third date, like whatever that arbitrary number is. But in the meantime, I'm going to touch him, put my mouth on him, let him do the same to me, be completely naked with this person in a very short period of time, and still hold in my mind that I'm not being seen as too loose because we didn't have penis and vagina sex. Like that's bizarre world, man.
But that's the stigma, right? I mean, like that form of sexual enjoyment is the taboo part, because it is what is associated with creating a child together, which is why everybody's like, oh my god, that's going all the way is so taboo, or is just not something that you do at a particular point. I know that even teenagers and kids and even young adults are taught by parents by saying, is like, be careful about dating a guy or a girl who's willing to do it right away. And they almost like devalue that person. It's like, I don't know if you want to marry a person who has sex with you on the first date, both male and female. It's like, So I mean, like, you're being taught these messages, not just but by society, but your parents and people who are very, very close to you that have varying opinions. I can understand why people just don't know what to do in the first date, and you end up having situations where both of you are naked in the same bed but are just doing other things because you really, on either side, just don't want to be thought of as a quote slut, which is one of those things that, I mean, it's definitely harder for the woman to handle, for sure. But and the men are all seen as like, anybody wants to do it right away. It's just they're just horn dogs and they only think with their penis. So
Right.
it's
The
like, where do you
stigma
go?
is much worse for women.
Absolutely, I'm not
And
contributing that. I'm not saying that it's not at all. It's just, and the thing about it is other women look at women very badly for doing it. Whereas
right.
guys that are like more,
That's why I say
yeah,
society.
mm-hmm,
I'm not putting it on men. I'm not putting it on women. I'm saying
yeah, yeah,
society in general stuff.
mm-hmm,
But I mean, okay. So do you remember the movie Clerks?
yes,
Do you remember the guy's
I know,
girlfriend
I know the
who
scene
was
you're
like
talking about.
hadn't slept with a
Absolutely,
lot of guys, but sucked like tons and tons and tons of dicks?
yeah, that's right.
So in her mind, she nothing crazy was going on, nothing serious was happening, but she was sucking like everybody's dick. But still, she felt like she was just that was just what people do. I didn't really like them, but whatever. So, and that mentality exists. And then on the other side of that, you've got people who are saving themselves for marriage because they think that the act of like a particular part touching a particular part means something different. And while it does mean something different as far as like the possibility of conception goes,
Mm-hmm.
the intimacy thing, that the whether or not you are a immoral person part, that's not different. And I'm literally not saying that people who do any of this stuff are immoral in any way, but the concept that some one type of thing is more immoral than another, I mean, it's just made up. It's just silly. So there's that, right? And
Yep.
then if you're worried that a guy is not going to respect you because you slept with him on the first date, but believe that somehow he's going to respect you because you slept the night and then had sex with him the next day, which you could call the second date, you are fooling yourself, and you need to have like your head rattled, because it's just absurd. Like, or maybe you don't. Maybe you go out one more time, and so you've spent a total of 5 hours together, knowing each other for 5 hours, and now you're having sex, and now that is any different than having had sex after 2 hours of knowing each other? Like, really? So I can't get my head around this whole thing, meaning I can't agree with the shame part of it, and I can't agree with the rationale that people are going through. If I may, I can share a personal experience with this,
You may
where
indeed.
uh, I dated a girl in college who was saving herself for marriage for her husband in the way that the girls that this guy's dealing with are saving themselves, or at least trying to get their respect by waiting a short time, or like, basically the girl I was dating uh, was a very sexual person and acted very sexual, got wanted to do everything,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't want to have penis and vagina sex. So even when we were messing around and things were getting close to that, or there was it's clear that she was desiring of it, but that she was controlling that impulse so that she could maintain this gift. She would call it like a gift to her future husband. And she wasn't like trying to rush towards marriage. She was, I think she was fine just doing everything else until marriage, and just feeling like that she would give then this purity gift to her husband. And I couldn't swallow it for too, like, I didn't try to push her. and I didn't try to change her thinking on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I myself could not understand and appreciate it with everything else that was going on. So I eventually was like, I don't think that this is going to work. Not necessarily, there were other things or other reasons why it didn't quite work, but it wasn't going to work, probably partly because of that. So we, called it off. But yeah, even then, even back in the excitement of, the young 20s, I couldn't get my head around that thinking. So, uh, so I guess when I think about this and the thinking that maybe not being too fast with someone and maintaining a semblance of respect, however you describe respect,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are worried about like getting ghosted, right? And that's what this guy was talking about, that maybe the girls were worried that, maybe the guy would not respect them and ghost them. But waiting another day or 2 or 3 days doesn't change whether you get ghosted or not. After you have sex with the person, then you either get ghosted or you don't. Or if you don't have sex with them fast enough, you get ghosted. So like it's kind of a lose-lose in that way. So holding on to sex or, punishing yourself for giving it up, it just doesn't make sense. People, shitbags, assholes, ghosts, ghosters, whatever, they're going to be that way,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of your behavior. So I don't think people need to worry so much about that.
No, you're
What I
right.
would say,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that you're right. I think a lot of a lot of people overthink it because that fear of getting dumped right away after giving it up is real, because then there is I think it's just because there's a bit of shame associated with it, which has been building up because of what society thinks regarding that particular type of hookup. And what happens is that this is just compensation for that. So you can say to somebody, oh, I was dating so and so, or I was with so and so. We did it, but we did it on like the fourth date, and then he left, or she left, and I didn't hear from him again. And it's just like it sounds a little better than, oh, I met him on Tuesday and we hooked up, and then I haven't heard. It's Saturday now, and I haven't heard back from him, or I haven't heard back from her, and it's like, that sounds awful. But I mean, in this particular case, I mean, it's almost as if it's just this reasoning to say that it wasn't like a first date hookup. Like in this particular case, hedonist was saying that the one of the girls actually counted the next morning, where they just slept together, and literally sleeping, not actually like sleeping together, but actually physically sleeping in the same bed, and then waking up in the morning and talking afterwards was another date, which I would argue it's actually a continuation of the first date. So
I would argue that it doesn't matter.
yeah.
My my concept is time spent, right? How many hours have you put in? I don't care if you've worked 2 days at a job but only spent 4 hours at the job. I'd rather you spend 8 hours one day and like kind of get what I'm saying. Like this job thing's stupid because it's only 2 days and doesn't matter. But
Oh yeah.
there's some people out there that say that you should have 500 hours with a person before you sleep with them. I think today that's kind of extreme. I think that if I were, uh, this is the kind of thing a parent would say to their child to get them to make the right decision. But if you think about it, if you really think about it, if you're going to be having sex with someone, you risk the possibility that you're going to either get pregnant yourself or become or impregnate someone.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, when I'm looking across the dinner table at my first date and looking at them, I'm thinking, do I want to risk that with this person? You can have contraception. It is, and if you do it right, you're pretty much covered. But still, there is a chance. And if you're sloppy drunk, or if you're careless, or if you're just really risky, then you may end up in a situation.
Yeah.
And
which is why a lot of people push
right.
abstinence nowadays. Like, you know, the
Yeah.
the abstinence movement took hold in the late 80s, and it became like a big thing, especially in rural communities and in southern communities and stuff like that. But
It's a big thing that they talk about it, but it doesn't work.
well, no, of course not. What I'm saying is
I mean,
that
it works if you do it. It's just no one does it.
well, what I'm saying is that they talk about it and they push it, but in practice, no way. You've got, you know, teenagers and, you know, early 20s with raging hormones, and there's just no way that that can be controlled. Actually, it makes a lot of people more adventurous, and it's almost like my equivalent to it is banning people from drinking alcohol until the age of 21, which is in America and several other countries. But if you go to Europe, you know, teenagers as early as 14 can be drinking as long as their parents are drinking with them in the pub. So it's one of those things in which they take the mysticism away from it all. Whereas if you are teaching abstinence in a lot of, you know, to a lot of teenagers and, you know, and early 20s and through, you know, religion and all sorts of other things, you are making sex in a way mystical and something that becomes tempting. And it's what happens here, why there is like a huge uptick in binge drinking, for example, for late teens and early 20s, because alcohol is out of touch for this group of people, both men and women, and it becomes mystifying, and you want to try it, you want to drink it, and then you drink it to an excess, and, you know, it can be very, very dangerous. Same thing same thing in sex. You know, if you tell somebody that you can't have it, more than likely they're going to try and get it no matter what. So, and then that leads to dangerous behavior. You know, as you said, it's like this is an act that could result in your partner or yourself becoming pregnant. So therefore, you know, the logic would tell you that wouldn't it be better to actually teach people, you know, the proper and safe ways to go about it to minimize that risk? Because you know what? Nothing is 100%, except abstinence, of course. But, you know, the whole way you go about a situation really can affect the mentality of the people involved. And I think that is where you clash with regards to sex education and a lot of rural and religious types. So,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that? Oh, hold on a second. Oh, weird. Got a beep. So, do you think that the U.S. is sexually liberated or sexually repressed?
I think it's in the middle. I think you have a population that feels like that they are in a way liberated and can do whatever they want, but there are old ways still built in within the population that basically holds them back from being 100% fully liberated. Look, I mean, it's one of those things in which, you know, this country has made movies and all sorts of other things regarding hookups, and people live, you know, going from date to date. If you watch the show How I Met Your Mother, for example, you know, Barney Stinson was basically turned into a playboy for 8 seasons, and, you know, he was lauded for it, like sleeping with women and doing all sorts of stuff like that, and being very, very promiscuous with regards to it. It can be liberating, but it's also not reality in this country, because, you know, there can be 1 or 2 people that are like that, but not everyone is indeed. Though, funny anecdote, people overseas see Americans as hypersexed as hypersex and willing to be a little bit more promiscuous. I keep using that word, but that's what it is. So it's funny because even though we might be a bit prudish, we're definitely not the biggest prudes in the world. And I've heard many of my foreign friends believe that American, both men and women, are willing to be a little bit more free with regards to it. But are we 100% sexually liberated? No.
Right. I, having lived overseas, have a lot of stories that relate to that, and and the concepts that people have that Americans are basically trying and willing to sleep with any and everyone. That friendships you still have sex with your friends. You know, it's almost like no holds barred, and that is because, as you said, the hypersexualization of our movies and TV and everything that we export, super sex because sex sells, but it's still within a country that is actually pretty sexually repressed. You look at our laws and the way that we, you know, treat sex education and everything else. We are quite conservative, and some places quite backwards in how they deal with that.
It's a bit of fantasy, right? Like the movies and TV that is exported and watched by the population, or even exported out into the rest of the world, is a fantasy that people overseas have adopted as, oh, this is exactly what Americans are because this is what we're showing to the rest of the world. But the people that actually live here, it's not really how it is. It's an exaggeration of what's going on. But we also find it entertaining because we wish that type of liberation would exist 100% of the time, but we know also as a society that it doesn't. So it's very interesting because it definitely, even in its own messaging, is confusing to everyone, which is to me, very funny. All right. I think we've nailed that topic into the ground, Tim. Is there any final topics that you wanted to say with regards to that?
Yeah, sorry, I thought I was cued. I thought the mic was cued. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Having some issues here. So what's going on?
Some issue.
Yeah.
No, I just was thinking if I had to give like a bottom line to people on this subject and to the hedonist Reddit user, if you want to play it slow and conservative, do that and be fine with it. And if you don't, just don't. But like, don't lie to yourself about it. You know what's at risk. You know what it's like out there. You know what people are doing, how they treat each other. So just decide how you want to be, what kind of sexual relationships you are comfortable with, what kind of dynamics you're comfortable with, and recognize that you may not be well received, and you may be, someone might try to shame you for that, but you don't have to let it dictate how you exist. And also recognize that you can send mixed messages to people. Showing up at someone's house on a first date and getting naked, they will have expectations. And in the age of Me Too and questioning consent, it is a dangerous game to play unless you are very vocal about it. So please be vocal about what you want and what you don't want, what you're willing to do and what you're not, and make sure the person who's with you when you're taking off your clothes, guys and girls, is someone that respects you.
Correct. Good point.
So, if we are so inclined, we can head on to our next topic here.
I think we should indeed. And the next topic is a very interesting one. And I think this is one that I think every person that goes through, OLD, online dating, has to suffer through. Both men and women, honestly, because, this is one of those things that can affect how your reaction to online dating can be? Can it make it a positive or a negative experience? Is it something that you have to fix? You know.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes from r/dating, and our user is Bumbling Beta, which makes me feel gross because I get the sense that maybe he's semi-incel and that talking about alpha males and beta males and Bumbling Beta. Okay, anyways, I hope
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
okay over there. The title. Better pictures might get you a few more first dates, but it deceives people into thinking you look better than you really do. So you won't get further in the dating process. He tagged it as giving advice. Let's see how this goes. The standard advice for men who don't have any success in online dating is take better pictures. Take high quality pictures, no grainy pictures, no bathroom selfies, no pictures in front of a computer, pictures outdoors, or doing something interesting, etc. There's a bunch of other nonsense advice that people give, but let's focus on the take better pictures advice for now. I was speaking to a guy the other day who upgraded his pictures on his online dating profile a few months ago. He was having really poor success, but with better pictures, he did get a few more first dates. However, he said that the women he met were visibly put off by the fact that he looked worse in person than he did in his photos. He didn't get any second dates from them. He said that he tried to build up some sexual chemistry, but they weren't interested in him. They were clearly annoyed by the fact that he looked worse in real life, worse than his pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes back to talk about himself. My last date from online dating, which was a long time ago, sadly, yes, I have very little success, said that I looked different compared to my photos. She clearly didn't mean different in a good way. I try to show off the best version of myself in my photos, good lighting, good angles, good poses, etc. But once you get to real life, people lose their attraction for you once they realize you look worse. They will ghost you after the first date, and you sure aren't getting anything sexual from them. It's similar to women who hide how fat they are in their photos by using flattering angles. I've heard many men complain about this. Sure, you can sell yourself as well as possible in your photos, but you can't hide your looks once you get to real life. So by choosing great photos which look better than the real you, all you're doing is wasting your time and other people's time. What do you reckon? Who agrees or disagrees? Maybe this only applies to women and men that aren't bothered if a woman looks a bit worse in real life.
Hmm. There's a lot to break down in there. Good Lord.
Yeah. So, take better pictures. It is a pretty common piece of advice. And some people go as far as to have professional photos taken for their dating profiles, but that's a little bit like, if you're going that far for a dating profile, it means you are either, I don't know, it says something about the way that you're dating and what you're planning on doing with your online dating profile. And for people who are having a miserable time, they think they can buy something better. They think they can pay for Tinder Prime or whatever the hell it's called, and that somehow investing more money will get them a better result. It's just not been shown to be true. And so buying professional photos might make your photos look professional, but someone's going to be looking at them and saying, why is this person professionally posing for their online dating profile? Anyways, this did end up turning into another rant about how Reddit advice is horrible. So, strap in, boys. We're going to go after this and pick it apart. And here we go. So women, according to his story, these women were disappointed that he looked worse in his photos, which is interesting. He didn't get any second dates, but we don't actually know why. He sort of automatically attributed that to the photo differences and the reality differences.
Mm-hmm.
But they might be missing something. Maybe this person also is not a good conversationalist and did not that regardless of whatever photos were there, that he wouldn't have gotten a second date anyways. But this guy seems to directly connect those ideas. he tried to build sexual chemistry, and maybe he meant sexual tension, because you can't really like build chemistry. Chemistry is going to be there or not there. You can work on playing with sexual tension, but generally it should be happening naturally. And if you're trying to work angles, then and you fail, I can see why you fail, because it's supposed to be there, not like you can create it with just anyone. The bubbling beta also had similar experiences. He told he looked different, which is kind of an ouch thing to be told. Different on a date, the word different probably isn't a good thing. Oh, you're different. It's like it's kind of rough. I think it's actually pretty common for people to choose like old photos where they look younger or better, or like fake people out with filters, or just those pervert angles to hide what they don't want to be seen. So I think most people will select photos that they feel that they look the best in, to themselves, but not necessarily to who's looking for them. So it does take kind of an objectivity to be able to choose the right photos, and it is, there are Reddit forums dedicated to people putting up their profiles to have it judged by other people and get critique, so they can make adjustments and do better in the dating world. I don't know how successful that is, if it actually helps them or not, but sort of the base question here is, can your photos look too good, and will that hurt you? And so I was talking about this with my wife earlier, and she didn't really skip a beat with her response. She just came out and said, look, if you look better than your best photo, then put whatever photos you want up. Put the best ones you have. If you are more attractive and they're going to see those photos and then meet you and be like, wow, you're even more attractive than your photos, then congratulations in your life. But if you're very photogenic and don't look as good in real life, you'd actually be better served to choose more normal photos, not like standard photos. That way, people are not let down by the real you. People who go and like use these filters and things like that to make themselves look perfect, and then show up and have bad skin or something else. No wonder, like no one is interested in being lied to from the start. At least I don't think so. So that I'm going to ask you, Z. Is the new standard to lie with photos and then just hope for the best?
It's not a new standard. It's the standard. This has always happened. This is not something new. I want to word myself correctly so I don't sound like a complete jackass, but this is marketing at its heart. What you're trying to do, be it male or female, is you are trying to put the best image, literally image, of yourself out there to attract someone, especially in online dating where superficialness abides. People are judging people not for their personalities, but either for their jobs, their height, their looks, not things that are well suited to the guy who is 5'7", dumpy, has a dead end job, but is a wonderful person. It's just not going to happen. So therefore, you want to give yourself a little bit of an edge. And this is the way that people do it. And I completely agree that it is a form of dishonesty. But is it something new? Absolutely not. People have been doing this for years. The thing about it is that what you're trying to do is getting your foot in the door. A lot of salesmen would say cold calling sucks. But once you're able to just get your foot in the door and actually start a conversation with it, it is then up to you to sell and close that sale. But sometimes getting in the door is the hardest part of the whole thing. And this is what happens. A good profile picture gets you in the door. Now, can you close it off after that? Now, that's completely up to you. Because, you know what? She might be angry or he might be angry with regards to what is put out there. But if you can turn it around with a good personality, great conversation, good experience on the date, it makes people reconsider what they thought initially. Now, you're going to run into superficial people who are absolutely just not going to care and immediately just take a look at you after your online picture looks one way and your real life, what your real life portrayal is actually, and they're just not going to even give you the time of day. And to those people, screw them. They're not worth your time. Because if the superficial parts are the parts that they really, really care about, then you're probably going to have a superficial relationship with these people. And that's not what you want anyway. So it's one of those things that I believe that you can put normal pictures of yourself out there. And if you're not having the success regarding online dating, then you are not getting your foot in the door, which means that you have to change your methodology. And if that is the real reason as to why this is happening, you tweak things about your profile, or you change aspects of your wording with regards to your description of yourself, or what you do, or what it is that you do. Things that you can change to make yourself more attractive on that particular level. But you also have to change your photos. You have to give people the opportunity to see you as potentially a different person than you actually are. That maybe that you could strive to be, or you were, or just a little different, to give themselves the ability to imagine what it would be like with you. And remember, this is their imagination. So what they're doing is they're picturing themselves with this image that you've put online, and that is what they're seeing, and that is also what they are mad at when they feel like that the real person does not match this imaginary person that they've built up in their heads that they're going to go out with. And there is still ways to overcome that, and that takes personality.
Right, but a lot of people would say that you don't get to have a personality in online dating unless someone gets past the initial filter, which is your photo. And that, like your restaurant may have great food, but they're going to go right past your exit because you don't have a sign up, right? The photos are what stops people and gets them to check you out. After they see that you're attracted to them, you've sparked something in them, then they read the profile information to find out if they're going to get attracted at the second level of personality based on what you put there.
Correct. It's a superficial world.
But if that's the case, that people are saying, well, maybe my photos need to be the eye catcher. I need to lie in my photos. I need to use filters, and I need to Photoshop, whatever it is, or get professional photos done, so that I can get them to get past the first, to pass the first gate, so that I can allow for my personality to bridge the gap that I'm missing.
That is exactly the point I'm trying to make, and that's the thing. It's like you have to find a way to get over the hump. And the thing about it is you see this on the men's side, putting more athletic, more travel photos, making them seem more interesting than possibly that they really are. And on the female side, I am always aware of women who have sunglasses as big as their face. So that is the number one way women hide their facial features, is if you see them in photographs wearing gigantic sunglasses. I mean, I'm not talking about clown size, oversized sunglasses. I'm talking about the big lenses, and then they're the ones that have been in style in the last 10 years. The side effect of those is that you don't actually get to see what the person actually looks like. And I've seen profiles with women wearing nothing but these sunglasses, the Gucci and the Chanels that are very, very large.
Sunglasses?
What's that?
They have no clothes on. They're just wearing sunglasses.
No, it's not that. It's they have clothes
Oh,
on. They
just their
might have a
faces.
regular figure or something like that, but they're almost like hiding their face, not because they're either afraid to show who they really are, or just because they feel like that is a negative aspect of their own profile, which is hilarious. But you see it all the time on Tinder. And it is a big part on some of the more common sort of dating sites. It's not necessarily as big as ones on the more serious ones like eHarmony and the other ones, but on the superficial sites like Tinder and Match, you see these photos. And for everybody out there, you know what I'm talking about. It's the giant lenses that take up about I think about a third, possibly almost just a little bit more than that of a woman's face. So really all you notice are the good aspects, either just the cheekbones, the chin, and the nose, and that's pretty much it. And like the hair. So it's like, you don't see anything else. So everything is even left to the imagination. So, this happens on both sides. So I'm not saying that will better pictures are they deceitful? Yes. Are they necessary sometimes? Yes. So it is.
So
yeah.
If you went on a date and you saw the person's photos, and then you arrived at the date and they looked 20% less attractive than their photos, what would that mean to you? Or how would you respond to that?
I would say that they try to doll themselves up for their photos, which is just natural. I'm a little different.
Is someone entitled to walk out and say you're not what your photos showed?
It depends on what that particular person is looking for. If they are looking for that particular person that is on the screen, and they believe that this is a complete sell job, then they absolutely, if they feel like it, can walk out. I'm not saying that in itself is not selfish and wrong, but they absolutely have the right to do so. Because you can go ahead and tell that person that this, I can't believe what you don't look anything like your photos, and this is very dishonest, so I'm leaving. And that is absolutely something that both a man and a woman can absolutely do. But you know what?
I think that they should give the person the benefit of the doubt and let them see if their personality makes up for that 20%?
As me personally, yes. But if that is not exactly what you were looking for, you have the right to not waste your time and go and try to find somebody else.
Are some lies better than others? So if you are 15 pounds heavier than your photos, is that a better lie than if you were 10 years older than your photo?
It depends. It depends on your personal preferences, right? This is all things that you choose based on the person. So, are you okay with dating somebody older? Are you okay with dating somebody heavier? It's completely different for different people.
But that's not the. So those questions could have been asked in the very initial. Like if you posted your pictures of your actual age and face at this age, they could say, do I want to date an older person? But in this case, you've been lured out under the idea that this person is 10 years younger than they actually are, or lighter than they actually are, or whatever, more than they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
And so the start of your date has begun with what is obviously a lie.
Correct.
And for me, I don't know how I would go forward from there. I'm not talking about slight difference. I'm talking it is clear this person has made an attempt to challenge the truth.
They're straight up lying. I mean, this is what happens. This is like an infomercial on television. I know because my company makes them. You are sold a bag of goods, and what you get back is not necessarily what you think you're going to get, but you bought it. So what you do with it is completely up to you. And that is just one of those things that is completely up to every person that has to suffer through this. personally, I have my own preferences. If they're 10 pounds heavier than they look like in the photo, that is nothing. I mean, you have to talk about somebody who could be like, they took their photo when they were 24, they end up being 34 and morbidly obese. That's just not acceptable in that particular case, because you're really not showing what you are. It was like, oh, this was a photo of me when I was 24 and just out of college. Oh, okay. Then that is not who you are, and that is exactly who I wanted to date. So please excuse me while I leave, and that is fine, and I am okay with that, because that is so far from the deviation of what you're actually trying to meet with, because you are being sold goods that is not in any way honest. But if you're talking about slight age differences, this is a photo when I was 24. I'm actually 27 now, and the profile reflects that. This was when I was 24. I'm 27. Slight difference. That's fine. This is also when I was, 15 pounds lighter. I'm 15 pounds heavier, but I still, the difference between a woman that is, 130 and 140 might not be very, very different at all, considering body shape, height, whatever. You can take in a whole bunch into account, a combination. It's fine. I mean, those are slight differences to make yourself just look a little better. What I think people really have issue with is just massive dishonesty. Taking a photo of a person that isn't even you and using that as a profile. That is wrong. Absolutely wrong. Taking a photo of you after massive body changes, also very wrong, because that is not who you are. That is who you were. Or you try to convince somebody that is who you want to be, but either way, that is not who you are right now. That is wrong.
Yeah, that brings me to some advice that I just give people in general if they're trying to put together a set of profile pictures. And there's tons of this stuff on the internet. You can go find 35 websites right now that will list all the things you need to do to have the perfect profile pictures. But for those of you that are here now listening to this, I'm just going to tell you what came to my head when I was thinking about this. I think people should pick photos that show who you are as you are, not who you wish you were or who you think someone else wants you to be, just who you are. Because if your sense of self is what you value, then you want someone to want that, right? If you don't value climbing mountains, you don't want to be the outdoorsy type, but you know that that's popular and is going to get clicks, and you put that up there, you're selling something that is not you. And therefore the person who's going after that is not going to want you. So it doesn't serve you to do that. I would also say you should pick photos that show what is important to you, like how you spend your free time, what activities and hobbies. Is your dog your whole life? Then put your dog in your pictures? That's important. But just like random pictures of you eating food or holding up a beer, it's just stupid. It doesn't say anything about you.
So
and
my
there are
question,
a billion other ones like that.
My question to you is what if your interests grab no one? So your interests are somewhat unique in this particular case, or interests that does not excite the potential dating base. So basically, people then judge you for your interest, and they're like, nah, I don't want to be with that guy. It's like, maybe you say opposite of mountain climbing or something. Like, let's say you are part of a thing that likes I don't know, canoeing. That's you're very adamant about canoeing and going into the ocean.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Those people who have very particular kind of things need to go to venues that are particular. If you're going for mass appeal, then you can go for mass appeal just like everybody else does, and maybe you'll get lucky. If you want someone, if canoeing is a huge part of your life and you want someone to be into canoeing and be into you who canoes, I like saying that, then you probably, online dating and putting up a profile on Tinder is probably not going to be where it's at for you. You probably want to go to canoe clubs and do outdoor stuff that involves canoeing and meet someone organically through that, because those people are already there. They already have your interests, right?
Mm-hmm.
You trying to like swing wildly and hit someone in the internet who just loves canoeing, good luck. But it's going to be hard to do that.
But I mean, yeah, this whole issue raises the question of, are you doing it right? That is the question. I mean, like, Bumbling Beta here, who is the poster with regards to it, has a lot of issues, maybe like a lack of success when it comes to online dating. And it could be blaming that lack of success on something like these photos with regards to it. And it could just be hiding a bigger problem, which is what you're saying, is you're not going to the right places. You're not doing
Right.
the right
Online
things.
dating is
Yeah.
not for everyone.
Yeah.
Online dating is not like, it is great because it's easy in that it doesn't require you to extend yourself too much. But it is not going to work for people,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, because of the superficial nature of it, and because of what it takes to be successful in that realm. So,
So what do you
it
say?
sucks.
What do you say to those people who are just abject failures to online dating? Because there
Get
are.
out of your house and go talk to people. Right? If your beauty and your handsomeness is not your forte, then you need to show your personality, and your personality is not going to show with some text behind pictures that no one's going to swipe on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want success, you have to go out there and connect people on the human level and show your personality and show your mutual interest and whatever else, whatever your thing is. Because for the most part, online dating is very superficial, and a majority of men are not going to be successful on it.
Yeah, and don't succumb to your laziness, people. Like, because online dating is easy, a lot of people will then get bitter over the fact that they can't succeed in it. Well, you're not trying hard enough. Try harder. Go out there, do stuff. I'm completely in your corner on this. It's like, you're absolutely right. Don't blame your lack of success because of lack of on other people, when it's solely a lack of effort. And if you feel like that, that this is other people's problems, and you're not taking a look at yourself and what you're doing it wrong. So,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Go ahead. What?
No. I think we've sort of nailed this into the ground. Was there any other things that you wanted to mention with regards to this?
I mean, I had a couple of things I wanted to say. There are just a few things that people have overdone as far as their profile pictures go.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they can go there. There are plenty of websites out there that'll tell them the same thing. But off the top of my head here, like you said, sunglasses. Generally, you don't want to be wearing sunglasses in your picture. People want to see your eyes, and that's a really important way to connect to someone. So take off your sunglasses for your pictures. Alcohol, everybody drinks, or they don't drink. But what does it matter that you're standing there with your beer in your hand, or your Cosmo or something? Like, just nobody cares.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you look more fun. And if all your photos have drinks in it, you've got a problem. Sexy photos, like, you're not an escort and you're not like a gigolo. And if that's how you present yourself, that's exactly what kind of attention you're going to attract. So, and like, I'm not trying to be Puritan or slut shame or anything. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. If you put that out there, you're going to get all the nasty hound dogs. So, know yourself. The filters, forget that stuff, especially like Snapchat, where people are putting up like the dog face, the cute little kitty thing. Like, oh my God, you're so much fun in middle school. We get that you know how to be silly and that you don't take yourself too seriously, but you're basic and it's really lame. So just don't bother with it. And then just be aware if you have a bunch of people in your photo. Well, I don't know if they agreed to be put in the photo there, that might be an issue, but like, unless they indicate something about you or what you do or who's important to you, then there's no real reason to have them, right? You want to show yourself. And the assumption is that you can maintain friendships and that you're a social person, but like, generally they're looking for you. So don't confuse them with a whole bunch of people. Okay, so let's just be done with that. Good luck on your profiles, everybody. This last one is a bit of a it's something different. But
oh no, this is
got
this is amazing.
it got 20 something thousand upvotes and ended up being locked because it became too controversial.
Well, aren't all Reddit posts locked after a while, because then eventually the trolls come in and everybody gets off topic and
right. Yeah. Everything's said at some point. But we haven't talked about it yet, so I think it's important that we do.
Yeah, I think we so too.
Why don't you run away with this one?
Oh, okay. So the topic on this one is called Left on the Side of the Road. So think of it this way. You have been that kid in the car that has been, not necessarily the best kid in the car. And you are threatened that the car is going to stop right now and I will kick you out of this car. And I will just leave you there and I will drive home. And a lot of parents have said this to their children, and no kid really thinks it's seriously going to happen. So, a lot of the times the parents will stop the car but never kick any of the kids out. You know how real the threat is, and you go. But what happens when it is a couple and somebody gets out of line? And that is the topic that we will actually mention. So this is from throw RA, a whole bunch of numbers, 09876345678. My 23F boyfriend, 25F, okay, left me on the side of the road and I deserved it. She's owning up to it. My amazing, beautiful boyfriend decided to treat me to dinner since we both had long weeks. He was making me laugh and we were talking and having a really good time. And after we were done and left, we were about halfway home when I asked him if we could stop and get dessert. He said something like, haha, didn't we just eat, and keeps driving. My stupid, selfish self pushes it and says, come on, please. I want something sweet. He replies that we have ice cream at home and continues driving. After that, I kept on pushing and pushing and pushing it, and while he's being way more patient with me than I deserve, he's firm and says, no. I give up, but then I see a fast food restaurant up the road and jokingly pull the wheel to go into the parking lot. Apparently, I pulled harder than I thought because we actually ended up swerving and hit another car lightly. To make things worse, he just bought the car. The driver motions us to pull over to the parking lot, and then when we do, he and my boyfriend get out. The driver starts cussing at him out and saying horrible things to him, even though there wasn't any damage to both cars. The bumper had the littlest, tiniest dent, and the other car had no damage. They didn't even exchange any information, but he's getting yelled at, so I don't get out of the car and let him be punished for something I did. When he gets back in and starts driving, he's gripping the steering wheel so hard that his veins on his arms are popping out. His entire face is red and he hasn't said anything to me. To try to break the tension a little, I say, well, that could have gone a lot worse. As soon as I say that, he stomps on the brakes and tells me to get out of his sight in the angriest voice imaginable. I've never felt afraid of him, but in that moment, I did. He looked like he was struggling not to hurt me. I got out, he sped off, and it started to get dark in a stretch of woods. It almost took me an hour for me to walk home. But when I got there, him and his stuff was gone. I feel so horrible. I can't even apologize to him because he hasn't been responding to my calls and texts. We've had fights before about my childish quirks, and when they go a little bit too far, and now I don't have a boyfriend anymore because of it. I've been getting texts like, what the fuck? What the hell is wrong with you, from our friends? So I think he's told them what happened. It seems like everybody's mad at me. Was there any way to fix this? How can I apologize to them when our friends are siding with him? You done fucked up. There's no other way to say it. This is completely on you. And basically saying that your behavior was childish was absolutely correct. He definitely will need time to cool off. There's just a whole bunch of what the hell were you thinking as you were progressing in this sort of line of, okay, I'm going to pull and jerk the steering wheel and hit another car in the process. Um, there is a level of selfishness here that is also unimaginable because you didn't get your way and you felt like you needed to be childish with regards to it in order to see if you can get your way. And it's getting your way over something that is very, very minor, even. So it's not like this was a wild decision. This was over ice cream, possibly. Yeah. I can't blame your boyfriend for leaving you. Honestly, that is one of those things in which did he go a little far? In this day and age where women are left in situations like that, things can happen to them. So I can understand why a lot of people would think, I can't believe he just left you there. But I can also understand from his perspective that I think it was taking every vein and bone in his body to literally not throw you out of the car while it was moving. So that's a positive in a way. So at least he slammed on the brakes and made you get out of the car in that particular sense. But to analyze this whole situation, this is all on you. Seriously. I mean, there are issues here where you need to be able to control your childish behavior. And in this particular case, as you mentioned at the very end, my childish quirks, when they go a little bit too far and now I don't have a boyfriend anymore because of it, you have now learned a very, very good lesson at the cost of your significant other, which is that your behavior is unacceptable in certain situations. And in this case, your behavior was 100% unacceptable, dangerous, and possibly, could have injured even more people by you being as careless as you were. I could keep going on with regards to this, Tim, but I want you to chime in here. Have I said anything that maybe is wrong in this particular case? Because I honestly believe that the boyfriend leaving the op here on the side of the road prevented him from maybe something doing a little bit more drastic.
I don't know. I don't know these people. I don't know what the guy was capable of, but it took her an hour to get back from wherever she was dropped off at night. So there are other issues, that's also could be a dangerous situation. Walking alongside the road, she could have been hit. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't. Generally, I think people should be able to manage their emotions long enough to get to a place where everyone's physically safe to then deal with those issues. But to her, she is admittedly immature and thinking and behavior, and she knew it was bad behavior, but she still did it. Jokingly pulling on the wheel, there's never, ever a time, anytime, anywhere where that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone did that to me in my car, I would absolutely put them out and never let them in my car again. That's like, people get killed that way. I did notice that they have a strange power dynamic. Like, does this dude control her food choices? If she wants ice cream, she should get ice cream, right? She's an adult woman. It's not up to him to decide whether or not they pull over and get ice cream. Like, she should be able to get whatever she wants. So this is just weird. And I don't know if he makes other choices for her. She seemed to defer to him in that way, even though what she really wanted was the ice cream. And so she just sort of kept nagging him about it. And does she have to harass him to get what she wants in other ways? So it just seems like there's some strange dynamic that they have there. She also doesn't really pick up on cues. Like, she saw how super angry he was. She just totally screwed up. And rather than just apologize right then and there and admit her fault, she tried to make light of the situation, which was inappropriate. And no wonder he got angry.
Mm-hmm.
And like, now she's like confused that he doesn't want to hear her apologize. I don't think she has a very clear concept of what is appropriate and what is expected of like an adult in a relationship, really.
You know what it reads like? It reads like a sitcom. You know what I'm saying? It's like this is like something right out of a ABC comedy where the two main characters, the boyfriend and the girlfriend here, in this particular case, have an incident, and you're looking at it from like a television show from the outside, and she has to walk home and he's gone, and it's one of those things. It's just like that's what it real like, and I'm wondering if she feels like that is what she's living in because it's not reality also. But I don't know. It's like, if somebody wants ice cream, okay, it's fine. If you have it at home, that's your argument. But at the same time, it's like, if she wants ice cream, let her pay for it. Yeah, let her pay for it.
Yeah,
Stop
honestly,
over and get it.
It doesn't matter. As an adult in in a society where we are equal,
Mm-hmm.
if she wants to have ice cream, what does it matter, dude? Like, I just don't see that. Like, they have a weird power dynamic, obviously, and hers is lesser and more childlike. So,
And the thing about it is,
if we're gonna follow a post and she said, in bed she calls him daddy, I would not be surprised.
mm-hmm. But the thing about it is with that childish dynamic comes behavior that probably enforces the relationship, and hence the we have it at home. Just settle down. And we'll get ice cream when we get dessert at home. So it's like, the thing about it is it's possibly that they're just playing off the dynamic because she's a particular way and he has to be that way in order to keep.
Or he keeps her that way with his personal control issues.
Possibly,
like, we don't know.
But the thing about it is, we don't know either of them. So like, we just don't. We're under the we're sort of in the dark with regards to it. But that is what it sort of portrays, the way that we're looking at it.
So he goes on. I guess when he got back there, he ended up telling all of his friends, and so she ended up getting shame bombed on her phone, which is weird too. This is something that two adults in a relationship should work out together. Or he could just be like done with her, but going and talking to all his friends so that they start texting her and saying, "What's your problem?" It just seems like there's a lot of immaturity going on here. And even if she wants to make it right and apologize, those friends are making it harder for her. So she's in a tough spot that she put herself in. I don't know if this is salvageable or not, but it's there are other deeper issues here. This car accident thing is just a result of that.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? The thing about it is the friends would have found out either way if he was like, I am done with this crap. I gotta get out. Maybe he immediately was like, all right, I just broke up with so-and-so because this just happened. And I really need to talk to somebody about this because I need to control my rage and anger, and I can't believe that this just happened. And I can understand if this ended up happening, because we don't know, we don't know if he ended up going someplace else and all the friends just happened to be all in one place and he's upset. And it's a lot of the times when people are upset, it's also very visual, so that there's something bothering them, or you can absolutely read the body language with regards to going on. He reveals it, and then they take it upon themselves going, what, WTF? What the hell was this? It's like, what is that? So that could have happened too. There's a whole lot of things that we just don't know in the background. But the crux of it is that she, the op, is completely 100% at fault of this. And then everything else is a circumstance of her actions, which in this particular case were childish and dangerous. But you know what? The thing about it is almost dying, possibly by getting the steering wheel jerked. running into another person and causing damage, getting berated by another person calling you an idiot for hitting their car. It was his new car, something that at a 25-year-old getting a new car most likely would have been his first ever new car that he paid with his own money, which has a lot of value to a lot of people because it is a life achievement for a lot of people to buy their own car, especially at that age. There's a lot of things going on in the background there that culminated in him basically leaving her at this point, because there's also probably a whole lot of other issues that are not discussed here. And as she references, they've had fights, which means that they've had other discussions about her behavior, and this is the thing just that went, one step too far. So, what do you do in this case? If you are her in this situation, Tim, what do you do?
I would try to get a hold of him. I would try to talk to him and apologize. Admit that I was an idiot. Admit that I was immature. Admit that I said the wrong thing. And, promise to never do it again. And hopefully get things back on track.
Mm-hmm.
And if it were me, it wouldn't happen.
But this is the thing, right? Like, I mean, it's like you've basically put yourself in this spot. Talking to the op here, it's, you know what, you're going to have to live with the circumstances of this, and she can't get a hold of him, but the friends have been texting her, which means that the friends are talking to him, which means that you can probably send a message through the friends and say, look, yeah, and pass
He's gonna
on.
cool off. They're gonna talk. I
know.
But
the thing about it is like
strong reactions is that they'll come back to it.
The thing about it is like, is like, with the way that she describes it is like there's the maddest he's ever been, veins popping through his arms, he's gripping the steering wheel tighter than I've ever seen him tight before. He was boiling with rage, and I really sort of don't blame him, because I think I would be very upset also in that type of situation. It's, he's just needs time to cool off, I guess. And so it's like,
he's entitled to be angry.
Yeah.
And, they will either work it out or they won't, but, she's got to, there has to be a lesson here for her going forward.
Well,
and also there should be a lesson for him too, which is you need to treat your partner with respect and give them equal voice. If someone tells you they want something, then just do it, because it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah. Something as simple as just saying, there's like, all right, there's an Arby's a mile and a half down. You can get a shake. Is that good? Would have prevented all of this. You're absolutely right. But, unfortunately, that was not the case. And it ended up culminating in her jerking the steering wheel and then hitting another car. So I would say that was the only part where he was at fault here, because it was something so minor that it was like, why are you going to plant your flag in the "we have ice cream at home"? It's like,
I think we basically played this one out. We know what's up. These guys, if they think about it for 5 minutes, they'll know what's up too.
No, you're absolutely right.
I don't think that this was such a popular post because it was a really deep and meaningful relationship issue. I think it had a lot of replay, like a lot of play value, as far as the image of these people freaking out in the car, hitting the other car, and that's being all this drama over some ice cream, So it's got the wow factor or something.
Well,
and
I find like Reddit does not necessarily dig the really deep problems. I think we actually addressed this in one of our previous shows, where a commentator actually says that, a lot of the advice that people give is very superficial and not necessarily in depth. So people have a tendency to shy away from problems that have a lot of nuance to them. This was very simple, and this is one of those things where it's completely obvious with regards to what happened. And you're right, it's very visually stimulating and completely understandable with regards to what was going on. So hence making it very popular on Reddit.
Yay, karma.
Yay. Everybody loves karma. My intern at work is very proud of herself because she had joined Reddit 2 months ago, well, maybe 3 months ago, when she started her internship, and now is already up close to 100,000 comment karma. I don't know how she got up that high, but yeah.
I mean, if it matters to you.
That's what I said. Well, the thing about it is like just as a little side effect, top accounts on Reddit are actually being bought by companies and places that want to push products through Reddit and to push influence, because people find those who have a lot of karma and points and things like that to be more trustworthy than people who don't. So therefore, it can be very beneficial for you to have a high post karma and high comment karma, because all of a sudden you get a DM saying, "Hey, we'd like to hire you as a Reddit influencer to push certain things in these certain subreddits," and that is a real thing. And I don't know if you were aware of that, but it is one of those things.
I mean, unless you're getting huge numbers, that's not really going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, like, this is one of those things I see with people trying to make Twitch into a career and YouTube into a career. Like celebrity, 99% of people are never going to make it.
That's correct.
And so, someone getting Reddit, like, you don't really get Reddit. I guess you can kind of get Reddit famous, but not like having a bunch of upvotes doesn't really mean your face is known to people.
No, your posts are. So like a perfect example
is some guy who put it on his resume that he had like 4 million karma. Like, so what? Who cares? Yeah. I don't care.
If the thing about it is if karma turned into dollars or something like that, it would matter, but it doesn't.
And people farm it, and they farm it in stupid ways. They're like, I could go and I could get tons of karma this week if I just started posting a whole bunch of questions that were like, "Hey, if you could have $10 billion, but you had to punch your uncle in his butt cheek, would you do it?" Like that kind of those stupid questions. That. And they always get attention. They always get, a bunch of people posting. It's like those dumb quizzes on Facebook. Which kind of fruit are you?
People
just do it.
Those quizzes are important, especially for Facebook, because what happens is they mine that data to then target you for ads and all sorts of other things. You think they're stupid. They are indeed. But what they do is they give an insight to who you are as a person by the way that you answer. And then
that's criminal.
And then they take that information and then sell you stuff. And that's how Facebook makes money.
I think that's messed up. We are turning this into a Thursday.
Yes, we are.
Wednesday.
So we should
end this here.
Yes, we should. It is midnight here on the East Coast. Happy Thursday. But that is going to do it for us tonight. If you want to catch us tomorrow, where we rail on Facebook, and I want to discuss what happens when your job gets affected by real life happenings, because it's a very interesting situation that's happening in the gaming world that I would love to bring up on Freeform Thursday. So I'll definitely get Tim's advice with regards to that. But we're going to end our show here on Twitchline. So thank you very much for joining us, as always, here on Wednesdays. If you are always interested. We are interested in all of your questions, comments, articles, anything you want us to talk about. Send us an email here at twitchlinelove@gmail.com or send us a tweet at Twitchline. You can also find us on YouTube, where we are streaming right now. Our archive of shows, just type in Twitchline Relationship Help and Advice. You'll find our channel there. Subscribe. You'll get access to all of our older videos and older content. You can check out all of our Sunday Focus segments, as well as Freeform Thursdays, are all saved on there. And if you want to take Twitchline on the go, download SoundCloud onto your mobile device and search Twitchline Relationship Advice, and you'll find our shows uploaded there, which you can listen to. But for Mr. Acorn, I am Hodo. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow for Freeform Thursday. So good evening, everyone, and good night.
Good night.